Hey everybody, welcome back. Today we're back in Manga Studio, and this is going to be going, as you can see, like lightning speed. I believe this whole process took about, I'm trying to think of the files, there's about 8 files I had to condense, maybe about 3 hours tops, around there. And I'm compressing it down to, how long is this video? Can't really see, but I don't know, maybe around 10 minutes or something. But anyway, what I'm doing here is I've already done the tight line work, and what I mean by that is what you can see, essentially just lines that don't really have too much shadow going on with them or rendering, so that I can still establish a light source when it comes to inking. And I figured I would just hit record so you guys could actually see the inking process, because I know some of you guys like that. And thanks again for those of you that are watching that stopped by for the live stream. You guys actually saw me work a little bit on the actual line art, so that was really cool. I'd like to post a link, however, through live stream. I click save, but it's not showing up there. So unfortunately, you guys just get to watch this here. So all I'm doing here is just basically putting in my shadows, not worrying about the rendering too much. I do start to blend it after a little while. I do like to add just shading and then do what I'm doing right there, just the rendering or feathering, whatever you like to call it. That way I know where my light source is and I don't start getting things muddy and trying to fight inks or shadows with rendering. It's kind of a bitch to work like that. And, I don't know. I find my art, personally, gets a little bit better once I start just worrying about shadows and then seeing how muddy I want to make it or how clear I'd like to make it with some rendering and stuff like that. And this here is actually, I'm not quite familiar with the character. I did read the comic. This is actually for a client, sorry. And the main character here on the right, his arms, they can actually kind of like, it reminded me of like Carnage from Spider-Man, where they can kind of go into some, sharp knives, kind of like, I guess, like a Terminator 2 kind of thing, like the Liquid T-1000, if you guys remember that. And he's fighting this vampire dude here, surrounded by zombies and stuff. And, I wanted to have his like chest, or not his chest blowing out, but, basically have the knife effect, kind of like, shoving right into the gut of this oncoming vampire. And he's really got some cool metal arms and stuff like that. And with the blood as well from the vampire, they are vampires, so they're relentless. And, so I wanted to have them pretty bloody. And, I'm doing work with zombies here, so what's really cool about zombies, one of the things I love to do with them, and you guys have probably seen it to death in my art, I always add like these dots around everything, or these little like flicks and little like specks of dust or dirt or something, right? Like, who really knows what the hell they are? I just like it because it looks like a cool effect. But when you're doing something like with zombies, you can start adding these little like dots around everywhere, and it could be like skin, it could be flies, it could just be, chunks falling off the body and stuff. Sometimes I'll add it for like impact, or if there's like big guys fighting or something, maybe it's like rock, debris. Basically just trying to give extra motion to the drawing. Again, just worrying about the core shadows here on the zombie dude, and then I think we're about to get into some rendering. Start slapping some lines down on that guy. There we go. And I screwed up the direction of the rendering on his shoulder there, so I just erased it and started throwing in some more. Again, just pushing some more rendering. Just trying to give it, like, I don't know who the colorist will be for this. I'm assuming it's going to get colored. And that way I want to leave it a little bit open for the colorist as well. I don't want to go too crazy with the rendering, even though, it might arguably look like it is. Right there, you quickly saw me do something that I haven't really been doing too much, but I usually do the block shadowing in two methods. One is I'll just use like my pen tool and kind of like carve out a shape, usually like a triangular shape. Or the other one will be just to grab the lasso tool and kind of make like a quick selection and fill it that way. It feels a little bit more organic that way. Sometimes you can get like different effects. I highly recommend like messing around with that, see what you get, see what you like. Especially like right there, I just added the lasso tool around his arms and stuff to give it look like his shirt's all ripped up and stuff. You can get some really sharp points that way as well. And here we got this pretty young thing, rendering her out. Just give it some shadow. And actually, I think it's a shame because she's actually within the bleed area. You guys can see it on the left there, Manga Studio. So when I rendered this out, I think like, I don't want to say half of her, but like, a good chunk of her gets taken out. But, I probably shouldn't have rendered it as much, but sometimes it's just fun to get in there and, you don't get to draw zombies every day. And, or really cool monsters or broken fingers, like what is that hand all about right there? I don't know, but it looks kind of cool. Here again, just worrying about her, making her look all ripped up. And here I'm doing a little thing called a cast shadow. The shadow from the lady there. The lady, would you call a dead zombie girl a lady? Is she still a lady? Do you still have to be a gentleman when it comes to talking about the female zombies? But what a cast shadow is basically a shadow that's casting a shadow onto another object. So since her arm is in front of the guy, even if the light source isn't exactly correct, the light's kind of coming from the top down, you know, you can still kind of get away with doing that cast shadow. And what it does is it instantly adds some depth to your drawing. So like, I know this is going really fast, and I wish I could just show you guys the actual finished piece. If you are watching, maybe I'll include a link in the underbar once I get the okay to do so. But if you guys are watching this right now, you guys probably won't be able to get to see it. But anyway, you've seen it in other people's art where it's like somebody will be in front of somebody and they'll have like this rounded shadow from like maybe their face or their arm over the person. What that does is it instantly adds depth to the drawing. I highly recommend using it. Even if you don't use shading, you don't like to do heavy blacks like I'm doing here, you can even do it with rendering, just with these lines, or if you're coloring, definitely be concerned and thinking about cast shadows when you're coloring, because it'll instantly, and I'm telling you this, instantly make it look better. And here we go. We're basically getting towards the end here. There's one guy right up in the foreground who has like a chunk of his head ripped out. Initially, I was going to shade him up pretty good, but then I thought, you know what? I'm going to keep it pretty clear. That way, I'm assuming the colors will have some fun coloring, you know, brains and chunky stuff. However, compositionally, when you zoom out, he's a big white figure at the bottom right. So it actually adds a little bit of balance to all the heavy shadows and stuff that I find myself. And these are kind of like choices you don't have to make while you're inking, but digital, what it allows you to do is, you know, you can just make a layer and experiment, and if you don't like it, just delete it. If you're working with this stuff traditionally, a really quick thing that you can always do is, if you have access to a photocopier, I don't know who has access to a photocopier, but maybe you have a printer and a scanner, I would highly recommend just taking the time, even though it's a bitch, to go over to your computer, set it all up, scan. It doesn't have to be like a 600 or a 300 DPI scan, just a dirty scan, and then print it out as crappy as you can on like a regular piece of paper, and grab like a big fat Sharpie marker or something, and maybe print out 2 or 3 copies if you got the time. And I mean, go quick with some shadows, just start blocking things in. You can see very quickly where your shadow work's going to be, and you can see if it's worth it to go there. I mean, when you're working traditionally, you don't really have the undo button, right? So you kind of have to know what you're doing before you get in there. Digital allows way more flexibility, I find. But anyway, try that out. Maybe that might help you out. And we're actually, how long we got here? We got a little bit left here. So what I'm doing here is I'm just making like some background elements, adding some more zombies. They're just going to be black shapes. And then what I'll do is I lower the opacity. That's why it looks like a little bit of a gray. And then I'll grab my eraser and just kind of like make a white halo around the guys so that they don't blend right in with the black background. I know a lot of people, they don't like to add this white halo to things. They prefer everything to be black and stuff. Like, you'd never see that in like Hellboy or something like that. But that's totally optional. It's whatever you want to do. And here I just add a little bit of a spotlight thing. Again, just to help with the composition, so your eyes kind of going towards the top right there. Add some white speed lines so it helps break up that black. And again, you can see the big zombie at the bottom right, even though this is going insanely fast. I hope you guys aren't getting like total mind rot just looking at this. I apologize. Like I said, it's about like a 3 or 4 hour process here, just condensed. Actually, how long? It's about 10 minutes, so it's not bad. Again, just cleaning up, adding some more white debris, some white debris everywhere. I changed his face to a smile to give him a little bit more confidence. Again, digital's awesome. You can always go back and change things up. So getting right to the end here, just adding a little spot for my signature and the colorist. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Stay tuned. There's going to be tons of videos coming out. Appreciate your time. Keep reading comics. Keep making comics. We'll talk soon.